What a day. It's time to talk about the entire day. Big tiebreak decisions, Brazilian domination here in Saquarema. Welcome, everybody, to the Corona Post Show to wrap up all the highlights from the round of 16, the quarterfinals, the semifinals are set now for the men. And it will be an all-Brazilian show on the men's side as we head into finals day, possibly first thing in the morning. The crowd is still enjoying what a celebration it was, as we have a lot of topics to go through, from Felipe, from the tie breaks, Italo's form, and the impact of a wild card named Mateus. Joe Trapel, Strider Wazalewski, and Peter Mel. Waz, you really felt the energy today on the beach. How much do you love Brazil?
It's actually, yeah, it really does bring you up. It gets you to the point of where you're just like buzzing all day long down at the beach. And it's just like one of those things where, you know, it's just pure, natural, fun energy that is you know, given to you by that huge mass of people. And it's something you won't find anywhere else in the world, because everybody down there is involved. Everybody there cares, and everybody is having fun, and they really enjoy it.
Pete, wave-wise, did it live up to your expectations on the forecast?
Yeah, it did. I mean, we saw it clean up through the day. I thought the high tide was going to let us go over to that little ripple, right? But the lefts played all day long. That's how it was. That's how it ended up being. But the performances were great. Some really close heats, and definitely you tapped into that crowd. As a commentator, the surfers did it too. I mean, the Brazilians were all over it.
Great to see. One man made the semifinals in the past as a wild card. He's done it again, this time full-time on tour. Yago Dora is now with Luisa Florence.
Am I on? Am I? Yago, nobody comes into competition expecting to lose, but did you imagine that you were coming this far?
Yeah, I did. This is a wave I really love to surf, and I feel like I've been having those tough heats that usually you go find the concerts when you're making those tough heats, and I still feel like I haven't surfed as good as I could on these waves yet, but I'm so happy to be going to finals day, and I can't wait to have another opportunity to surf tomorrow. Well,
you just said you know this wave, and you know that you can surf even better. So what do you think has to happen? Yeah, I'm still, I don't know, I think I haven't connected with the best waves yet of the heat. On my first two heats, other guys got the best waves of the heat, and that was my first heat that I actually had the best score on the heat, and so it's good. I feel like I'm building, and I hope I can keep building and make one more heat, go to the finals, and hopefully fight for the title. Você foi a última peça desse quebra-cabeça para entregar para o Brasil inteiro, que agora a semifinal só dá brasileiro aqui no Rio de Janeiro. Como é que fica essa emoção? Sim, que loucura, né? A gente até estava fazendo os cálculos ali antes do dia de hoje começar o round dos 16, a gente estava fazendo os cálculos que podia chegar a isso, né? Mas na hora a gente vai para a bateria sem pensar muito nisso, a gente tem o adversário na nossa frente ali para lidar e não ficar pensando em outras coisas externas, mas muito legal isso, né? Isso já garante que o título no evento do Brasil vai ficar no Brasil, e eu espero que amanhã dê altas ondas de novo e seja um show pra galera. Se eu pedir sambinha vai ser feio? Vai. Putz, o samba eu sou ruim, cara. No surf até vai, mas no samba não dá. Parabéns, Yago. A gente se vê amanhã. I just said he was like the last piece of the puzzle to tell this entire country that the semifinals is going to be all about Brazil. And he's like, you know, I try not to think about it. I was calculating the numbers, and I knew it was going to be possible. But he was like, I'm going to just do my part, not think about the numbers, otherwise it's going to come up in my head. I was like, can I ask you to do some samba? It was like, that's good to be ugly, I can surf, but I cannot do samba. So one thing we know, guys, the title is going to Brazil anyway. Back to you.
100%. Luisa Florence, thank you so much. Great job today catching all the spirit of the Brazilian storm. Brazilian semifinals are stacked, and that's going to be fun to watch. Yago Dora obviously was full-time on tour at the start of the season, however, suffered his injury, which sidelined him through the midseason rotation. So should go on to say he's actually an injury replacement wild card through this back end of the year. but he's looking like he's in form, like nothing ever happened to his foot. He's firing at all cylinders, and now he has a big test, because in the semifinals, it is all Brazilian, but he has #1 in the world, Filipe Toledo, tomorrow.
Well, we watched him march through surfers when he was here years ago, and he actually was just giant killing left and right. So I know he can do it, and it's just going to be one of those things where everybody on the beach is going to be on their feet. They're going to be screaming, and it's going to be an all-out battle. It's going to be super fun to watch. We know how deadly they both are in the air. I almost feel like it's going to come down to who does the best, like, huge carve on the face or something different than what we expect.
Well, I'll say one thing about Yago in that last interview. He was definitely confident. He knew he was going to be there, and he has more to give. That's dangerous signs.
Yeah, we're looking really comfortable, famous for being a free surfer, but he can do it on demand, especially here at Saquarema with total belief. I mentioned he does have Toledo. Let's look at Toledo's form from today. He had a great matchup with the goofy foot from Cronulla, Connor OLeary, where he really switched into high gear. He's had some closer heats in the lead up, but this one looked like he had control from the very start, Pete.
Yeah, he did. And I mean, I think every heat he's been in this event, he's looked very good. And I feel like he's even got more to give as well. I mean, we really haven't seen him go into the air a bunch. You know, his surfing's been on the face for the most part. He has had a few attempts and so forth, but I feel like those big airs are still to come. And I think going into tomorrow's finals, he's going to have to pull that out, especially like a guy, Yago Dora.
He had 2 better scores than Connor OLeary, was stopped at a 4.77 and a 4.17. He was brilliant against Matty McGillivray, but didn't really get involved as far as getting close in the heat because Felipe had an 8.6 and a 6.5 as a backup.
You know, Connor is just one of those guys that he just has to be, you got to put yourself on the best waves, and that didn't happen for Connor, but it did for Filipe Toledo. I mean, look at how quickly in transition that lip turn was. I mean, he comes right out of it onto the rail, and it's just super hard to put yourself in that position and coming on off, like free falling into a bowl and then finding that rail to climb again. That's just so beautiful to watch.
And this was definitely a battle for Connor against the crowd. It was so clear that they were backing Felipe at this point in the day because he had a lot on the line as world #1 with Jack out early at #2 in the world, out first thing in the morning. 8.6, 6.5, one of his better totals of the event so far, and saving maybe his air game for finals day tomorrow as he'll have Yago Dora. It's really special when you see someone dominate the sport, but you still see the emotion come out of them. And that's what we got to witness earlier today when Felipe received the news that he clinched his spot in the WSL Final 5. You know, he'd been there before. We expect him there. But for him to take a moment from his game face to let out some tears, that was special today.
You know, it was funny. I saw him. He wouldn't come down for the interview. He's like, what is it? What is it? I mean, what? And I'm like, dude, you got to come down. You know, you clinched. And he's like, what? And he like freaked out.
Did you do a little clinch?
Yeah, and he came down, and I pulled him over real quick. I said, you got to just like look excited. And he's like, I'm not an actor, man. And I said, you won't have to act when you're on camera and somebody tells you this. And he walks out, and sure enough, he just went into full, like, you know, emotion and tears, and it was like, and after the interview, he just stopped and had a moment to him on the side of the stage and was crying. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and he actually, I got to witness him tell his wife up there in the stairs, and he's very excited about it, which was kind of cool to see. I mean, I think you'd come into this as #1. You're towards the end of the season that you would expect that, yeah, I'm going to clinch the high, but he didn't. He had always left that door going, you know what, I need to get through some more heats and push it hard through the rest of the season. Now that he has a clinch, he can kind of relax. You know, he's still got an event to win, right? He's still got tomorrow.
It's so true. And he clinches a spot. You know, we still have to wait to see if he'll clinch that #1 seed with a little bit of room to move in this event. Obviously, Jeffreys Bay, where he loves, and then Tahiti, where he's had some trouble in the past. But the one thing he knows is he'll be fighting for his first world title once again. And he'll have the advantage of being there last year and finishing runner-up in the world.
It just after being so close and seeing the passion and seeing everything that he's giving to surfing from his life and watching him on like just the make or break and seeing everything that goes into it, you become a fan and you want to see him win. You know, you just and he is winning. He does have that jersey on his back right now for a reason, because he has been dominant. He hasn't won a bunch of events, but he's been right there every time.
Let's just remember real quickly, Pete, I want you to walk us through this as we look back at last year, the first ever Rip Curl WSL Finals. Felipe was there before, and he wasn't the #1 seed. He had to get past Connor Coffin and then Italo Ferreira, who was defending his world title at the time, before he got to the title match against Gabriel Medina.
But we do remember that his surfing that he was doing at Trestles at this time, especially on this little quad that he had, was something special. It was something that we hadn't seen before. It was a different lines. It was different quickness. It was surfing that we thought could win a world title. You know, he had to go through some really incredible surfers, with Italo Ferreira being on point too. You know, you think about Italo that season, he was doing really well, sitting at the #2 seed. So you'd expect that he was the favorite, but man, the surfing that Felipe was doing at Trestles was top-notch, and matter of fact, it looked to me like some of the best surfing we'd seen from him the entire season and ever.
Well, as soon as we saw the announcement that Lower Trestles would be the venue for the first time, I don't think anyone could not think about Felipe and what he's done there in regular season events, beating Jordy Smith. He's a guy that can win by not being on a set wave. He's got that kind of depth, and now he's got another shot at it, Strider.
Well, I think the best surfing I've seen this year on tour with performance surfing, I feel like it was Filipe Toledo in El Salvador that afternoon of the quarterfinals, when it was just perfect, big, long, fast walls, and you really got to see somebody just tear apart a wave. You can ride a wave, you know, that's really good, well, but to actually go up and down and pick a line and find the transition and really destroy a wave is so hard to do. And he did it. It was one of the best things I've ever seen. And to be honest, some of the best surfing I've ever seen.
King of high performance, but also the king of flow, as he just connects every maneuver together as he's off and running into the semifinals. One man we've got to talk about is a guy that can't get to the championship tour quick enough. One of the most dangerous wild cards we've seen in the last 2 years. The impact of Mateus Hurdy was definitely felt here at Saquarema this year, Pete.
It sure was, and I'd expect that we're going to see it in the future. It's not hard. I mean, it's not hard to tell. I mean, the guy beat Jack Robinson, and Jack was doing great surfing coming up to this event, and he's had some huge momentum. So Mateus needed to put out his A game, which he did. This was a very close matchup. I mean, it could have gone either way at the very end of this heat, but Mateus was doing his job very early.
This is how we woke up to the morning. What a heat. World #2, Jack Robinson, switched on, and he had a couple of challenges again. Second event in a row where he had to chase down another board. It looked like his leash just fell off, but he had his game face on, regained priority, was still in the heat, and he actually caught what was thought to be maybe another buzzer beater. It just didn't go his way this time, was.
Yeah, you know, it was 50-50. I mean, it could have went his way, right? It was that close. It was just really a tough go for him. Mateus, though, man, this kid, he loves to put on a show. He loves it when it's all on the line. He did really well in Mexico, and you can tell it really raises his level being up against the ropes and knowing he's out there to perform.
Yeah, I talked to him in the Red Bull Athlete Zone. He's like, I just can't get to the CT fast enough. It's like a kid in high school. It's like, put me in college. I'm ready. I want to go to the big show.
Let's think about some numbers here right now, because in this semifinals, you've got two surfers that aren't collecting points, right? You've got Italo, who's gaining points, who's already kind of be in the final five, and you've got Felipe, who is sitting at the top of the rankings. You look down 2 heats, but behind that is Jack Robinson at #2. So this is a big blow. You know, it's opened up the door with Jack losing out in this round of 16 for some other surfers to climb up, you know, and if Callum had been able to get through that last quarterfinal, you could have seen him knocking big time at that door. But unfortunately, no, that's not the case. You've got Yago, who doesn't need the points, and you've got Mateus as a wild card who's in there taking away points as well.
And this was incredibly close. A 7 for Jack Robinson, but he needed a 7.07 at the end. Split decision from the panel. Were you split as well, Strider? Where'd you see that final wave landing for Jack Robinson?
You know, the only thing that I felt like, I felt like it was going to be just under, and I felt like that because of it. There was a bit of, I think maybe it was the wave and maybe this, you know, the lack of intensity within the turns that was happening. But I think that was also because the wave let him down a little bit. The sections didn't open up enough. I think he was going to do those big turns, and the wave had a little undulation or a little backwash, and it put him in an awkward position so that he couldn't open up on his turns, and that's where things went wrong for him. I don't think it was his surfing. I think it was more of the wave.
Pete, agree or disagree with the Waz?
I disagree, and the reason being is I thought I was sitting there watching the heat, and I just saw, in regards to the 2 waves that were being surfed in the heat, I mean, you watch the entire heat, and there's comparisons that are happening. It felt like to me that was enough. But again, I'm one person, you're one person, the judges are 5 there, and they had a split.
And that's exactly why I wanted both of your opinions.
Like so tall.
Yeah, well, but it was a bigger wave. I think his final move was solid. He pulled it off. It was at the end of the heat, emotion involved. Phew, you know.
See, there's the extra half.
Let's keep this debate going because we had another incredibly close heat. I mean, so close, it was a tie-break decision. Miguel Poopo versus Italo Ferreira in the quarterfinals. Miguel, I think, was just thinking, I have a heat with my brother, and it just slipped away from him on the last wave. Italo tied things up, getting an 8.17 on the backhand. This was a nice comeback wave to form for Italo as well. He wasn't getting much done on his forehand, Pete.
No, he wasn't. You know, and he had to mix it up, and he ended up having both rights. He's considering lefts all day long. He couldn't get over a 4-5 on those lefts, so he ended up catching a quick right, got a score, and then the big right that ended up coming at the end of the heat. But this one was another close one where I felt at the end of the heat the error wasn't quite big enough in my eyes to be able to turn it.
Look how well Miguel Poopo is laying down tracks out there. I mean, the guy is so silky.
So smooth on his forehand, and this is what changed everything. A full road from Italo, threw down the wrap, and then finished. Needed an 8.17 and landed right on the number. They tied. He broke the tie with the single high score. And the interesting part about 5 judges on the panel, they threw out the high and the low. 3 judges actually had Miguel winning that heat. But on the average, couple 8.5s, there's a low of a 7.5. It ended up being just what Italo needed to get a spot into the semifinals. It doesn't get any closer than that for Strider.
Yeah, that was just bananas. And to hit the number right on the head of the nail to be exactly what he needed was almost just like baffling in your mind. Like, really? Wow. And when you watched it live, I'd love to see all the different angles of it again and go back and really break it down, because when I watched it live, the section, it wasn't like a heaving bowl barrel section, you know, it was just, he blasted off the top and did the full 3. But was the section vertical enough? And that's what I want to see, because I haven't really analyzed it deep enough to really go in and say, was that really the score?
Well, those heats are so close, you end up talking about them for the whole season. I mean, and this is kind of a momentum shift, Pete, where Italo's been vocal. He's been frustrated with his scores. You feel like he should have got the win over Jacket Bells. You know, there's still this energy where he's been let down from the panel. This could be the moment where things turn around for Italo, as he's still looking for his first win this season.
And I would have to say, he best. I mean, this is an event that he got a call that went his way. Now in the semifinals, he needs a win in this season to really pick up momentum, to keep himself clinched for that final 5. It's important.
It definitely is. Let's check out the final bracket. It could be out there first thing in the morning. I think it will. The waves look like it'll be really fun and clean first thing in the morning. It's an all-Brazilian semifinal show, and we'll be kicking things off with a big heat for Sami Poopo, as he'll be dealing with the 2019 world champ Italo Ferreira. World number 1, Filipe Toledo, has this guy that's just surfing like a wild card, but with a ton of experience, named Yago Dora. Where's the winner coming out of that draw, Strider?
I feel like Filipe Toledo is surfing better than anybody at the moment. I feel like he's going to carry momentum into the final.
I agree.
And take it home.
Way to go, Strider.
You guys
We
want
agree.
to shake hands on that?
Yeah, okay, cool.
Hey.
Right on, bro.
There's a first for everything.
Yeah.
that's
But Yago is, just now all of a sudden I'm thinking.
Take it away. Come on, take it back.
No,
take it
Felipe.
back, Pete.
Hi, Felipe.
Let's flip it to the women's final series. This one set a couple of days ago, as we've been anticipating fireworks for Joelle Defay, Gabrielle O'Brien out of the rookie class. Joanne's number 2 in the world, and you got world number 1, Carissa Moore, taking on what would be the local favorite in Tatiana Weston-Webb. We'll start with you here, Pete.
Ooh, boy, I'm going to go into the semifinal number 2 and talk about Carissa Moore and Tatiana Weston-Webb, because I feel like that one's going to be Carissa against the world at that moment, because she is going to have a very focused crowd on Tatiana Weston-Webb. I think Tatiana's one that's going to plug right into that one, plug into that crowd and perform, and then she's going to make the final. I don't want to talk about the top half, though. That's you.
That's you, Strider. What are you thinking?
That's going to be depending on the serve tomorrow. I feel like what we wake up to and what we're going to see. I feel like if we have these nice running little left-handers, I feel like it's going to be Joelle Defay, and if it's going to be a little bit bigger on the right-handers, I think Gabby's going to win.
No claim. That's what that was.
No, that was an option.
A lot to discuss as we'll wait for the forecast and buy some time until we get down there tomorrow. Well, we get to a fun part of the Corona Post Show when we pick out one single wave. The 51 ice wave of the day was extra special. It was like a chip in, little roll in to a huge ramp coming in at a 9-point ride. And this was right after a solid 3-turn combination. Young Sami Poopo takes the 51 ice wave of the day here, Pete.
He sure did. And of course, he gets the opportunity and he goes for it and he pulls it off. That is what a young surfer on the championship tour has to do, is take those opportunities and go big. He did it. He got himself the biggest number of the day, and he's the 51 ice winner.
What a great balance of waves. We got to see what he could do on the open face, big turns, and right into a full rotation. A guy that loves to react off the crowd. And impressive for a rookie on tour.
I mean, yeah, let's not forget was it quarterfinals at Pipeline when it was just massive too? Sami Poopo is the man.
Absolutely dangerous, and we love to see what he's bringing to the table. We'll see if he can be a rookie that can clinch his first win of his career. Coming up now on the Corona Post Show, we've been talking about this activation called We Are One Ocean. Let's find out what's happening right here in Saquarema.
In order for the future generation be able to come to this beach and see the way it is, how natural, how raw, we gotta teach them beach cleanups and planting trees so we can extend this for many generations.
Saquarema is a well-known surf break, and 70% of Brazil's population lives within the Atlantic forest today. WSL is collaborating with WSL Pure Grantee, SOS Mata Atlântica, along with Marcem Licho, community volunteers, and surfers to restore this local beach landscape.
Hoje nós estamos aqui em frente à área de proteção ambiental da Maçambaba, que é uma das unidades de conservação que existem na Mata Atlântica. Essas unidades de conservação são muito importantes. O bioma da Mata Atlântica já perdeu muito da sua cobertura florestal. Hoje restam apenas cerca de 12% da área de florestas que existia originalmente. A SOS Mata Atlântica é uma organização ambientalista brasileira que foi fundada em 1986, então a gente tem mais de 35 anos de história com a missão de inspirar a sociedade na defesa do bioma da Mata Atlântica, que é o bioma mais ameaçado do Brasil.
I fully believe in giving back to an area. Like, we come here, we take advantage of the beautiful waves. As a surfer, we have the responsibility to look after our oceans.
Aqui nós temos duas espécies endêmicas, tá, nativas aqui da nossa região. A gente vai plantar aroeira e uma espécie de cúzia. E é isso, daqui uns anos vocês podem voltar para ver aí crescendo. A gente vai acompanhando aí o crescimento delas. Bora?
Mas essa aqui é bem especial. É em um lugar lindo, um lugar aqui em casa, no Brasil, né? É um negócio que daqui, sei lá, 20 anos eu vou trazer meus filhos e essa árvore vai estar aqui. E eu vou falar que eu plantei ela 20 anos atrás.
O principal objetivo nosso com essa ação é passar para as futuras gerações a importância de estar fazendo essa preservação, de estar cuidando, né, que é nosso, né? A praia é nossa, os oceanos são responsabilidades, né? É nossa responsabilidade.
As surfers, the ocean is our playground and our stadium. Getting involved in protecting and conserving the ocean is critical for us today and for future generations. Tell us what you're doing by posting on social media with the hashtag #WeAreOneOcean and tagging WSL and WSL Pure on your posts.
You can learn more information on how to protect our ocean and our world, weareoneocean.org. And remember to hashtag and let us know how you're participating in our sustainability efforts to make the world a better place. Always starts with cleaning up your local beach, and when you travel, make the beach better than you arrived at. So that's kind of what we do when we travel around the world, and great to see all the activations happening right here in Saquarema. As we know, we have the semifinals now set for the men and the women, and we're thinking it could be finals day tomorrow. Let's bring up the Surfline forecast and get the opinion of Professor Pete. Pete Mel, how's it going to be looking first thing in the morning?
Well, fingers crossed. Of course, this is the ocean, and weather is weather, but ultimately the forecast looks great. We see a tapering swell, which we saw out there right now, but it's still pretty solid. I mean, it's well overhead, and I feel like it's going to hold through tomorrow, which is what the forecast is saying. We are going to see offshore winds. That's the one thing that we had this morning was a bunch of sickness in the ocean. Now we're going to have some offshore breeze. It's going to be blowing through the night, which is awesome. And then Tuesday, you see right there, offshore, 5 to 8 feet. That's exactly what I'm hoping, fingers crossed. As we move through the rest of the waiting period, options aren't great. So tomorrow looks like the day.
Really love that we're working into finals day for tomorrow morning. You saw good conditions from Surfline. That means clean winds and still some energy from the south swell that did peak today. So maybe a little bit smaller in size, setting up to crown our champions. Now it's time for the Banco do Brasil top 5 moments of a huge day here at Saquarema. It was a packed beach here on Monday, and we talk about all the factors into winning and what goes into really an event and how you work with all the elements. Well, the element here that you have to work with, whether they're with you or against you, is this incredible crowd coming in at number 5 on the Banco do Brasil top 5 was.
Let's take a look. A lot of people down there.
Yeah, they're actually calming you down now. Did you
I
just
was just going to say.
You got too much energy today?
I was just going into a Zen mode trying to like watch it because it was just absolutely nuts down there all day, and I just had to go backwards from it.
Yeah, you
pull
peaked.
back and look at it for a second. I was
You unplugged.
I unplugged for a minute there. I mean, it was so crazy.
Mateus working a spot at number 4. Impressive wild card semifinal in Mexico, and stepped up today knocking out number 2 in the world, Pete.
Wow, wild card performances at the top level. You know, if he gets, or when he gets his spot on this championship tour, watch out. He is already in his mind, wants to be here, belongs here in his mind. So you'd have to say the performances obviously matching that now into the semifinals once again. And he didn't really have to go to the air too much today. Tomorrow, I feel like it's something that we will have to see him if he wants to get his first win ever.
Love that. He's got a big reputation as a wild card like Sean Holmes or Bruno Santos before him. And now we look at number 3, Sami Poopo, stepping up his first excellent heat of his career, Pete.
Oh, man, what a show. He put it on. You mentioned it earlier in the show about he was being able to show us everything he has. He can get 8s by doing turns, and he can do 9s by going to the air. And right there, he did that in 3 minutes time, man. So that shows he can do it even in a little tight little region. He can get the numbers needed, and he can do it in big waves. I mean, shoot, he made it to the quarters at Pipeline, so he's got the whole package.
Special 8 to 9 back-to-back, big full rotation for Sami Poopo. He's still in the running coming into finals day. He blew his own mind. Number 2 on the charts, Italo Ferreira getting exactly what he needed, an 8-1-7 to move on to finals day, Strider.
He is surfing out of his shorts, literally. He was at a 32 a few months ago. He's down to a 31, now a 30. This guy's losing weight and on fire, just blasting through. I mean, I really feel like he's just gaining momentum like Pete was talking about earlier in the show, and I feel like we're going to just see him really solidify himself in the top 5.
You can see how clutch he was. He can use his own ability to create scores for himself. Pete, when you look at that wave, you're not seeing what he did at the start. I mean, he can go so big above the lip.
Yeah, you can. And I guess, that's the thing. It's undeniable when you see him flying, and then the landing with all the speed that he carried out of it, with the turn at the end, snap to turn. So, I mean, again, excellent number. It felt like it was going to come up just short. It was right there on the border. Judges gave him the exact score, and he would break a tie break with one best wave. He had it.
And there was a lot of flow going, Miguel's way, and it just didn't happen.
Great to see him so clutch to change things around and topping the charts on the top 5, brought to you by Banco do Brasil. Filipe Toledo, we'll see you at lowers.
I can't wait. This is going to be so fun to watch this man now on to the finals, and he's going to be looking for that world title to keep that jersey on his back.
Wonder what he's going to ride. I know that there's that little quad sitting in the, it's not going anywhere, so.
It's a beautiful moment right here.
All the emotion pouring out of Felipe. He's got his game face on to compete, and then he had to just open up, let the tears flow, and just know that he will have a shot at the Rip Curl WSL Finals once again.
So cool to see. I mean, and again, we expected it. I expected it. I'm kind of baffled that he didn't expect it, but obviously it meant a lot to him, and that's pretty cool that a man can cry and let his emotion out. And you know what? Tomorrow is a whole nother day.
And he's going to be freed up coming to one of his pet events on tour, J Bay. Obviously here he's looking for a 4th title in Brazil to equal Dave McCauley of the past. And then Tahiti, a place that is kind of gave him trouble. He knows he's going to be at lowers, so that might free him up as well to maybe have a great performance at Teahupo'o this year.
It's kind of wild too that we all 3 of us think he's going to win the contest here, and then he's going to go to a place where he has had a hard time in Tahiti, and I would love to see him overcome that fear factor of what it is.
100%. And then we know we still have 4 spots left to work out the WSL Final 5, but it looks like we will be probably getting a start tomorrow for Finals Day here at the Oi Rio Pro, presented by Corona. Think about your champions and who might be taking the big trophy first thing tomorrow morning. Join us for the call on worldsurfleague.com. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you then. After a couple of late days through the weekend, it's a fun Monday morning here in Brazil. Ready to watch the world's best compete. Backhand hammers from Mateus to build on his scoreline against Jack Robinson. Jack attacks the lip and rides away. Has he done it again? It is not enough. Mateus will get the win. Backside full rotation for Sami Poopo.
17 points in 3 minutes.
That is when Italo starts to thrive.
This is somebody who wants a world title more than anybody.
If Yago Dora can fend off Ethan Ewing, Filipe Toledo will clinch a spot in the Rip Curl WSL Finals.
That smells to me like an excellent start for Ethan Ewing.
Yago Dora, crowd goes nuts. It's official. Filipe Toledo clinches his spot in the Rip Curl WSL Finals.
Layback hammer from OLeary.
You better apologize to that wave.
Callum Robson throwing hammers at the wall.
It's time for the quarterfinals. Sami Poopo smashes it. He's pumped up. Layback, solid decision for Miguel Poopo. Here comes Italo looking to change things up. Full rotation on the backhand. It is a split decision, and he does get it.
That's
Italo.
exactly the score.
Blasts the finish, releases the fins, the crowd goes wild. A huge victory.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League.